Hey, good morning, guys. All right, let's get to work. Today is Thursday, May 21st. We're doing page 407. Then we're going to skip a few pages and do 410, 412. We're going to be doing this often. Some of those pages aren't, they're just thinking pages and going through them. You can do them, obviously, because sometimes they do really help. But we have so much to get through. So I want to focus on actually just practicing problems with some of these things, because hopefully we're starting to see patterns with this multiplication of fractions. So let's get right into our first problem on page 407. So multiplying unit fractions to find area. Okay, so it says Titus is making flashcards to use for vocabulary review. He cuts out rectangular cards that are 1/2 foot long and 1/4 foot long, or 1/4 foot wide. What is the area of one card in square feet? So the idea is that if he has a piece of paper that is 1 foot by 1 foot, if he has a piece of paper that's 1 foot by 1 foot, let's just say this is what he's using to cut these papers out, right? We don't know. We could just draw it so it has a, this helps us understand that, right? So if he has this 1 foot by 1 foot and he's cutting papers that are this size out, the idea is that if he cuts this paper into halves, right? So this is 1/2, this is 1/2, right? Okay, so let's just say that's the length that he cuts these into. And then he cuts these into fourths. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3 lines, cut it into fourths, right? So that this is a fourth. So this whole thing is a fourth, right? This whole thing is a fourth. This is a fourth, and this is a fourth, okay? So the idea here is that, oops, I kind of just got going here. I probably should have paused and let you try to solve it yourself. But maybe you already did that. It's all right. It's okay. We'll do some modeling and stop it and do it on your own if you want. Your choice. Okay. So what is the area of one card? So each of these is going to be one card because each of them have a length and a width of 1/2 of a foot and 1/4 of a foot, right? With me? Okay. Right. So the idea here is that we have a thing that is 1/4, and it's times 1/2, right? So this piece of this card that he's going to be doing vocabulary on is 1/2 by 1/4, right? Okay, length times width, right? Well, like we've been talking about here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 parts in the whole, right? We're talking about this one part here as well, right? So it kind of shows you, again, this is 1/8 of a whole, okay? And also we talked about the other day that hopefully we're seeing the pattern that if we multiply here, we're multiplying numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator, right? And it gets us to 1/8 uh, of a foot, 1/8 of a foot. Let's see here. Yeah, so hopefully that makes some sense. We could do this in a couple other ways, but I think this is going to be the easiest way to look at this and do it. All right. If you go ahead and, oh, I should say it's 1/8 square foot, right? So feet squared. Okay. You can look at this, some modeling of it. Okay, the model shows on the next page, shows the same idea, okay, that I just did. So the tiling effect. So again, when we're thinking about making a model and tiling things, this is the way we really want to do it in relationship to a whole, right? Again, down here, that is the area is equal to length times width. If we have the length and the width, okay, this is going to ultimately make our how we solve for area, right? But if we understand that when we multiply, we're just multiplying across, it makes life so much easier for us moving forward. So again, if you're watching the video and this first time you heard it, I mean, that's hopefully that you've already figured that out, but it's always nice to let you guys figure that out on your own and find those shortcuts on your own. Let's go ahead and move on to the next page, page 410. So we have 410 through 412 today. On page 410, I'm going to do a couple of these problems. I'm going to leave 411 and 412 to you. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of these ones together here. Let's look at them together. Let's work through them together. And you can obviously always pause if you want to give it a shot yourself. Otherwise, I just want to like kind of work together and we'll talk about these things. Okay, it says, what is the area of a rectangular paper strip with a length of 1/3 yard and a width of 1/6 yard? Okay, use an area model and an equation to show your work. So because I'm talking about yards, I have less than a yard, right? I have less than a yard and I have less than a yard. So I can go ahead and use my model to show that this is 1 yard by 1 yard, right? This length is 1 yard, this length is 1 yard, right? So it's gonna be 1/3. So I'm gonna break this into thirds, roughly thirds. So this is 1/3 right there, okay? And this into 6, we need 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, let's do there, 5. It's not very good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not very good. Sorry about that, but it'll work. Okay, so this is 1/6, right? So the idea is that this area here is 1/6 of a yard. That whole column is 1/6 of a yard. This area here is 1/3 of a yard. Okay, and so this overlapped area in here, this overlapped area right here, where they overlap, that is my value of 1/3 of 1/6, right? Length times width. Okay, so if we look at this as an equation, then it's 1/3 times 1/6. Well, again, how many total parts are there of the whole? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 3. So 6 times 3 is 18, which is why 6 times 3 down here is going to give us 18, correct? There's one of them. There, 1 times 1 is 1. Kind of showing that this equal to 1/8 square yard. There's our answer. Okay. Well, sorry, not 1/8, 1/18. I wrote 1/18 and just, it's morning, it's early. All right. Number 9. Okay. Number 9. Marty has a square picture with an area of 1 square foot. Draw lines in the model below to show one way to tile a 1-foot square with rectangular tiles that each have an area of 1/12 square foot. What are the length and width of your tile? So there's multiple answers here. The key here is to talk about 1/12. So we got to think, well, what combinations can we do to make 12? Think about your multiplication facts and different ways you can make 12. Well, I know right off the top of my head, I can do 1 by 12. I can do 2 by 6. I can do 4 by 3, right? So those are going to be the easiest ways to make 12ths, right? So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and we're going to break this apart so that we can make it into 12ths. So the idea is I want 12 boxes here, but the idea is they should be even boxes. So I need a length and a width, just like we did on these previous problems. I need a length and a width. This one made 18ths, right? 6 by 6, the 6 by thirds, right? Made 18ths. So we need like thirds by fourths, 6 by halves, things like that. So I'm gonna do 1/3 times 1/4. That's what I'm gonna do. And so I'm gonna go ahead and break this into thirds. 1, 2. So that's thirds here. This is 1/3. I'm gonna break this into fourths. We're gonna do 1, 2, 3. This is a fourth. Okay. And the same idea is that this is a fourth here. That's a fourth. This is a third. okay? And this area right here that is overlapped, this overlapped area here is what we're talking about, right? The overlapped area right there is going to be 1 part out of, again, 4 by 3 of 12 parts. So therefore, it's going to equal 1 out of 12, or 1/12 feet squared, right? Boom. Boom, we nailed it. Okay, last problem we're going to talk about here that I'm going to send you off on your own. Obviously, if you're struggling with some of these things, you can always go back and look at the strategies that I used as we look at this. The next pages are going to be using all the same concepts, okay? What is the area of a rectangle that has a length of 1/4 and a width of 1/8? A length of 1/4 and a width of 1/8. Now, we could draw this all out to help us understand how to solve it. But if you're feeling confident, like I am, then we can just use our shortcut strategy, right? We now see that both of the numerators, both of our numerators are 1, right? So we know that our answer is going to have a 1 in it. So we can immediately eliminate D, right? Okay, we don't remember, we multiply, we don't add them. Okay, so idea is like all these ones, 1/3 times 1/4 is 1/12. Okay, 1/3 of, right? This is 1/4 of an eighth. So if I take an eighth and I get 1/4 of it, so I cut that, how much do I have? Well, it's going to be as easy as just multiplying across, isn't it? 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 8 is 32. Therefore, my answer has to be 1/32. Oh, I could have eliminated this one also, couldn't I? Okay. Could be 1/32. Okay, and that's how we do. All right, guys, so your task today is to do page 411, 412. So if you worked with me through that, make it a piece of cake for the first half of this work, right? So hopefully this is making sense. Look at the models, think about this carefully. Some of these, if you're seeing the pattern that we can multiply numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator for just fractions by fractions, okay? It makes life so much easier. So we can just do that. We can do that and then cut a lot of corners here, kind of, right? As long as we understand what the area model looks like, we can start moving away slowly from that and get more independent, just solving problems as we understand that half of an eighth, right? If this is a half and this is 1/8, right? 1/8, this little section here is 1/8 of this half, or that this is 1/8 and that's half of the eighth. And so that little box right there would be 1 out of 18 total parts in relationship to 1 whole. If we're understanding that, then we're going to be good. Okay, so if you're understanding that, then use the shortcuts, man. It makes life so much easier, but understand why that works. Okay, because understanding why that works is so integral to your development and understanding of math. Okay, all right. I'm going to be online. I have a crazy busy schedule today. So I'm going to be one thing after another here for like 4 hours straight. So I will plan on being online at noon. I apologize if I'm a little bit late getting started. I plan on being online at noon today. So I will see you there, hopefully, if you have questions, obviously. You can always email me as well. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Take care of yourself.